The world is thrust into chaos when hell breaches the boundary between realms and floods Earth with its demonic armies. Cities fall within days, and the once unshakable governments of the world collapse under the weight of the invasion. Earth becomes a battleground, and humanity faces its greatest existential threat. As the ground splits open and infernal creatures pour through, the sky turns a menacing crimson hue, signaling the arrival of a nightmare beyond comprehension. Society shatters, and the desperate scramble for survival begins. At the heart of this chaos is Marcus Steele, a former military strategist turned cynical mercenary. Having experienced countless wars, Marcus has lost faith in humanity's ability to endure in the face of true disaster. He's seen the worst that mankind can offer, but nothing compares to what hell's arrival represents. With no real government or military left to lead, Marcus decides to use his skills to survive, taking on jobs for whoever can pay and doing whatever it takes to stay alive. He's a man who's been worn down by the weight of war, and hell's arrival is just another ugly chapter in his already brutal existence. Alongside Marcus, Dr. Eliza Voss, a brilliant but morally conflicted scientist, seeks to understand the strange energy surges caused by the breach between realms. She is working tirelessly to uncover how hell managed to infiltrate Earth, trying to decipher the origins of the demonic invasion, and, most importantly, whether there's a way to fight it. As the devastation continues to unfold, Eliza discovers that the demonic forces aren't just physical, but also manipulate the fabric of reality itself. The energy signatures she detects indicate that there may be a way to fight back, but the cost of doing so is still unknown. She is torn, however, between the potential to save humanity and the grim reality that using this knowledge may make her complicit in the destruction of everything she holds dear. In the ruins of what remains of civilization, Alexis "Lex" Hayes rises as an underground leader. Lex is a survivor, hardened by years of living on the fringes of society. She leads a group of rebels, scavenging resources and keeping her people alive amid the infernal chaos. However, she is deeply skeptical of any hope for a larger victory. Lex doesn't trust the government or the military to save them. They're all gone now. The new world is a brutal, lawless one, and Lex has embraced the ruthlessness necessary to survive. Her group is ready to fight, but she knows that their struggle isn't just against the demons, it's against humanity itself. In the new order, power is the ultimate currency, and those who don't seize it will be consumed by the fire. As hell's influence spreads, the rest of the world is divided. Some attempt to fight, others seek to align with the demonic forces in exchange for power, while the rest simply try to survive. The initial response from humanity is disjointed. Governments fall, and groups vie for control in a chaotic race to harness whatever remains of Earth's resources. The fear of hell's power is matched only by the ruthlessness of those who see this as a chance to reshape the world into their own image. Among the human factions, there are whispers of alliances with the demons, and Marcus, Eliza, and Lex each find themselves facing different but equally dangerous choices in a world where morality has become optional. The stage is set for humanity's struggle, not just for survival, but for its soul as hell's demonic armies continue to ravage Earth. Humanity faces an uncomfortable truth. They are no longer in control, and old rules of warfare and survival no longer apply. In this chaotic new world, survival demands ruthless adaptation. While many still hope for a miracle or a miracle weapon that might reverse the damage, some have already given up on that dream, choosing instead to take advantage of the new order, even if it means sacrificing their humanity in the process. Marcus Steele, now fully immersed in the cutthroat nature of this new world, finds himself increasingly cynical and willing to use any means necessary to survive. His mercenary background has taught him the value of pragmatism, and in this world, morality is a luxury he can't afford. He forms uneasy alliances with various factions, using his military expertise to navigate the chaotic landscape. Marcus recognizes that some factions are already going beyond simple defense, forming dangerous alliances with the demonic forces to gain power, technology, and resources. The demonic entities have shown a disturbing willingness to bargain with humans in exchange for their loyalty, and some of the most ruthless factions are already accepting the pact. Marcus himself is drawn into these power plays, tempted by the possibility of using Hell's influence to ensure his own survival, but even he isn't fully comfortable with the price of this power, and the longer he interacts with these dark forces, the more he questions whether the humans who ally with demons are any better than the monsters they're fighting. Meanwhile, Dr. Eliza Voss continues her research, struggling with the ethical dilemmas of her discoveries. The demonic energy surges are more than just a byproduct of Hell's invasion. They are a key to potentially reversing the tide of battle. But the process of harnessing this energy requires a terrible cost. In one of her most significant breakthroughs, Eliza discovers a weapon, an ancient device hidden deep within Earth's history, capable of obliterating the demonic forces. However, activating this weapon demands a sacrifice. A human soul must bind with the device, sacrificing themselves to unleash its full power. The question of who should make that sacrifice weighs heavily on Eliza. Should she herself volunteer, or should someone else step forward? The potential for salvation is clear, but the ethical consequences of wielding such destructive power are terrifying. At the same time, Alexis Lex Hayes, the leader of a growing resistance group, has become increasingly disillusioned with the idealistic hopes that humanity can regain its former self. Lex leads her people with a fierce determination, but the reality of surviving in a post-apocalyptic world, filled with both demonic forces and ruthless human factions, is grinding her down. Lex believes that only the strong will survive, and she's willing to embrace brutality to ensure the survival of her group. But as she sees the escalating violence and betrayal around her, she begins to question whether she's becoming just as corrupt as the enemies she's fighting. The temptation to sacrifice her morality in exchange for power and resources is ever present, and it's becoming harder to resist. As these three characters wrestle with their internal struggles, the world around them becomes more fragmented. Human factions, once united by a common enemy, now splinter as different groups realize that they can use Hell's power to their advantage. Some form uneasy pacts with the demons, promising loyalty in exchange for military might or technological advancements. Others fight to retain their humanity, rejecting alliances with Hell and choosing to resist the demonic forces by any means necessary. Amid this chaos, Marcus, Eliza, and Lex must each decide where they stand in this new world, and whether they will embrace or reject the ruthless pragmatism that the survival of the fittest now demands. In the face of growing corruption, the possibility of saving humanity seems more distant with each passing day. The question becomes less about whether they can defeat Hell, and more about what humanity will become in the process. Would they emerge from the ashes as something better, or would they be consumed by the very darkness they sought to defeat? The true cost of survival is about to reveal itself. As the war between humanity and Hell reaches its climax, the once tenuous boundaries between human and demon grow increasingly blurred. The relentless assault from the infernal forces has broken what little was left of Earth's civilization, and humanity's final hope now rests on the weapon that Dr. Eliza Voss uncovered. An ancient artifact capable of wiping out the demonic horde. But as the countdown to the weapon's activation begins, the true price of victory becomes clearer, and the choices facing Marcus Steele, Eliza, and Alexis Lex Hayes grow more complicated. Marcus, having embraced the brutality of the new world, becomes the focal point of the human response. While some of his allies have turned to working with the demonic forces for power and survival, Marcus's pragmatism has pushed him to see things in terms of cold, calculated action. He's seen firsthand how ruthless humans can become in the face of annihilation, and now, more than ever, he feels the need to use whatever means necessary to win. But as the weapon's activation draws near, Marcus begins to understand that the lines he's crossed and the alliances he's forged with dark powers might have corrupted him beyond repair. He struggles with the growing realization that, in his attempts to survive, he has sacrificed more than just his morality. He's lost his humanity. Meanwhile, Dr. Eliza Voss faces a gut-wrenching decision. The weapon can only be activated by a sacrifice, the willing binding of a human soul to the device. a selfless act that will trigger the weapon's immense destructive power. Eliza knows that the weapon is their best chance at defeating the demons, but she also knows that its activation could mark the end of any hope for the future. If she or anyone else makes the sacrifice, they will be lost, their souls consumed, by the weapon itself. Eliza's internal struggle intensifies as she grapples with whether to sacrifice herself or whether someone else, perhaps one of the merciless survivors she has come to know, should take that role. The decision is a moral quagmire. The weapon could save humanity, but who, if anyone, is worth the cost? For Lex Hayes, the war has pushed her to her breaking point. Once a fierce, pragmatic leader, Lex now finds herself at the center of an existential crisis. The rise of ruthless factions, the betrayal of old allies, and the sheer violence of the world around her have pushed her to question whether any of this is worth it. Does humanity have the right to survive if it means becoming as morally bankrupt as the demons they fight? In her final battle with both the demon hordes and the human factions willing to compromise their morals, Lex faces the ultimate question. Is it better to give in to this dark world, or does humanity have a chance to emerge from the ashes with some semblance of its former self? As the final battle rages, alliances fracture, and blood is spilled on both sides. Marcus, Eliza, and Lex, each hardened by their choices and actions, must face off against both the demonic forces and the darkest parts of themselves. In a brutal confrontation, Marcus makes the difficult choice to fight not for himself, but for humanity's chance to stand tall again, even if it means losing the person he's become. Eliza makes the ultimate sacrifice, binding herself to the weapon to destroy Hell's army, ensuring humanity's survival at the cost of her own soul. And Lex, torn between vengeance and redemption, takes up the mantle of leadership once more, guiding those who remain through the ashes of their fallen world. In the aftermath, the weapon's destruction of Hell's armies brings a bittersweet victory. The Earth is scarred, civilization is in ruins, and humanity stands at a crossroads. The survivors are left to rebuild a shattered world, but at what cost? With Hell's influence eradicated, the battle for the future of humanity begins, and the true cost of their survival, of their ruthlessness, will echo through the generations to come. The question remains, will they rebuild with the same flaws that led them to the brink of destruction, or will they forge a new world from the ashes, learning from the brutal lessons of their past? The final answer is unclear, but one thing is certain: humanity will never be the same.